What's the craziest thing you legit believe in? What is the thing that is, and when I say crazy, let me redefine it. What's the most controversial? What would take people aback? Because nowadays, there's so many people who say what is mostly considered mundane things. Like, I'm against racism. Great. You're so special. Everybody's against racism. There's nobody outwardly screaming that they love something like racism. It's a taboo. But there's a lot of other things out there that's kind of crazy that you might legit be otherwise a normal person, but you think this one really obscure, really out there thing. What is it? What controversial thing can you bring up at a party that is a unique thought, that isn't just sitting around and going, I hate bad things, I like good things? Something that is conventionally believed by everyone, something that's accepted as just a foregone conclusion by everyone, that you absolutely believe in or don't believe in. I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is, I don't believe in peanut allergies. And people mostly think that I'm trying to fuck with them when I say that. No, there's no such fucking thing as peanut allergies. I'll prove it to you. When I was growing up, I had peanut butter every fucking day. No one ever got hurt. Not one kid in fucking class ever got hurt. And if there was a kid who ever claimed to have peanut allergies, which I do not remember, nothing ever happened to him either. Now it's peanut particles in the air who make you... Have you ever tried to bring a peanut into a school these days? They have fucking snipers on the roofs that try and fucking stop you if you bring a peanut near a school. You may as well bring a grenade. It's fucking... It's insane the lengths they go through to protect the peanut allergy kids. Now, on Halloween, I was in a place, I was working, and we had a big barrel of candy. And we had peanut M&Ms, and we had Reese's Cups, and we had Snickers. All those things had peanuts in them. No one died. Not one person died. Which is shocking, because if that was in a school, so if those kids were 17, who, you know, that would be, oh my God, half the kids are going to die if you bring a peanut in. Someone's going to drop dead. We're going to have an incident. But 1 year later, they're all cured. Or there's no problem. There's no problem in the general public world with peanut allergies, but inside schools, suddenly it's a problem. Therefore, I don't believe in peanut allergies. Do you think no one has a... I could see you all fucking the wheels turning. Actually, I have a really bad... I'm sure there's someone out there with a peanut allergy. In the same way that there's people out there who were born with no hands. But we don't say we don't know how many hands humans have. We do. It's 2. Humans have 2 hands. But my cousin was born with 1 hand. He doesn't fucking count. He doesn't count. That's an anomaly. The exception doesn't make the rule. The exception proves the rule. Hey, that's weird. You have 1 hand. Doesn't mean that we don't know how many hands the baby's going to have. No, we know. It's going to be fucking 2. And if it doesn't have 2, if it has 3, we're going to go, wow, fucking sign this kid up for the circus. So, what do you believe in? Aliens? Aliens is kind of a weird one, right? Now, most people I know believe in aliens. Do you believe we're visited by aliens? Do you believe we interact with aliens? Now, that brings it to another level. Do you believe the government has had contact with aliens? Now you're sounding like you're wearing fucking aluminum foil on your head. But most people, if you ask them, do you believe in life on other planets? They'll say yes. What about Bigfoot? You believe in Bigfoot? There used to be a Bigfoot, for sure. Back in China, there was a Gigantopithecus, this giant fucking hairy woodland gorilla-looking thing. It's like 10, 11, 12 feet tall. That did exist. Do you think it exists now? Do you think it's somewhere... in the Pacific Northwest, and it's just hidden in this thicket of woods and wilderness deep, deep in there where people don't go? There's definitely a shitload of people from that area that said they saw it, but if you start walking around talking about Bigfoot, you're a goddamn crazy person. Loch Ness Monster? I think that's pretty fucking unlikely, but there's people who fucking swear by the Loch Ness Monster. So let me drop something else on you that is incredibly controversial. It sounds like a crazy person foaming from the mouth. It sounds like I'm batshit insane. I may as well just be sticking fucking baseballs up my ass on the fucking street corner. But let me run something by you. I think it is far more likely than not that there is a satanic pedophile ring run by the government. There, I said it. That's just how I feel. I think that it's far more likely that it's run by the government. And I think it might also involve churches and Hollywood. I sound batshit insane. That's controversial. Blurt that shit out at a party. See the looks that you fucking get. But let's walk it back a little. Why do I think that? Am I fucking crazy? So you know the movie Jeepers Creepers? You know the guy who directed Jeepers Creepers, before he directed Jeepers Creepers, was arrested for pedophilia and was like a known pedophile. Yet he got a job directing a movie in Hollywood where they put him in charge of like teenagers and shit. Isn't that weird to you? Now, let's say you work at a coffee shop. Let's say you sell cigars. If somebody walked into your place and said, hey, I want to be your cigar salesman. Oh, but just so you know, I used to fuck kids. I don't think they're getting the job, right? So why are they getting a job that pays $300,000 a pitcher? Why are they getting $1 million a year contracts? Because then Jeepers Creepers 3 came out, okay? And we're going to walk this all back. Jeepers Creepers 3 came out. And then he got, like, busted again. So it's not like he stopped. It's not like he was Captain Reformation when it came to pedophilia. This guy was like, I diddle kids. And people were just sort of like, I guess he diddles kids. And these are his Hollywood buddies. This also ties into the Harvey Weinstein shit. I could have told you about Harvey Weinstein. Everybody knew about Harvey Weinstein. And the second the fucking Me Too shit came out, people were going, yeah, Me Too. Oh, he tried raping me. He held me down. He did these things. I believe you, for the record. Most of them. Show me a little evidence. But I could just fucking... You look at Harvey Weinstein, you're like, you look like a guy who would fucking rape a bunch of people. I'm sorry, you did. And how many's too many? I mean, if, 20 women said he tried to do it, but only, 2 he actually raped, 2 is too fucking many. I mean... I rape as many people as I want to, and that exact number is 0. I don't want to rape anyone, therefore I do not. Harvey Weinstein's running around with his fucking dick out, chasing people around hotels and jacking off into plants. And we all knew about it. And when I say we all, I mean the country. It was a punchline. They would use it at the fucking Oscars. And everyone in the audience would giggle and laugh, and oh, that's just Harvey. But then all of a sudden it became a thing. And one of the people that started that thing was Asia Argento. Asia Argento came out, and her big thing with Me Too, keep this in mind, Hollywood, it's all going to get tied together. Her big thing with Me Too was, we need to stop this culture of sexual assault and then paying people off so they stay silent. And everyone went, yay! And fucking Rose McGowan went, yay! And everyone clapped and went, you're so brave for coming out. Then you find out she fucked a 17-year-old kid and had Anthony Bourdain pay the kid off to the tune of like $200K. What? Wait, what? Maybe you shouldn't be the one leading the movement. Did that thought ever occur to you? Did you ever think about that, even a little bit? Rose McGowan. The other half of the Me Too thing, I actually wrote something on this for Dangerous.com that hasn't been published yet. But Rose McGowan was part of a cult growing up. That cult was called Children of God. And the leader of Children of God was a guy named David Berg. David Berg had sex with at least one of his daughters. He had sex with his son's wives. He was really into incest. He was really into child sex. And Rose McGowan, and it was very, by the way, like commie type thing. It was like a Jesus-y thing, but hippie thing mixed with communism. Like they didn't even, the only personal item they were allowed to own that belonged to them was a Bible. I'm talking about shoes. Like, they all had to share shoes. They all slept on a floor. The women all raised each other's kids. You called them all nannies. So, like, some nanny would be as much of a mother to you as your natural mother, because the nuclear family was evil, which is a big Marxist concept. And David Berg incorporated this. Oh, and by the way, let's throw some fucking kid fucking in there, right? So that's a little crazy that Rose McGowan grew up in that household. Anytime she's asked about it, she just says things like, well, I think we're all in cults, just I happen to know that I was in one. And it's like, you've never come out about listen, great, come out against rape. We're all against rape. Like I said, that's not a controversial thought. But what is controversial is you grew up in a household that had like a overlying crazy Jesus-y philosophy mixed with psychotic Marxism and pedophilia. And I've never heard you rant and rave about your own parents putting you in that environment. I've never heard you rant and rave about Children of God. I don't know of any charities that Rose McGowan has where she gets people out of that cult because you don't want to, be in a child sex cult. And the more you go down the rabbit hole with that, the more psychotic it becomes. Those are the two people who run the fucking Me Too movement, by the way. That's fucking Hollywood, right? Hollywood... Or I should say, Washington, D.C. and politics is just Hollywood for ugly people. They're all fucking intertwined in the same shit. They all want a narcissistic amount of attention. And you have the Jeepers Creepers guy, which, okay, well, that's one example. It's anecdotal, as they say. You're not showing a pattern. Okay, remember the movie Powder back in the 80s? There's a movie called Powder. Bald kid, all with, like, painted white, basically, who had crazy powers. It turns out that the guy who made that movie is a super duper open pedophile. Like, goes to NAMBLA meetings, right? And the whole concept of Powder, it's a thing that NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, for the people who didn't see that South Park episode, NAMBLA shows that movie, and pedophiles who are like pedophile advocates rally around the movie Powder because the boy had the power the whole time. And that's like their whole twisted, fucked philosophy of what all this shit is. Now, going back to Jeepers Creepers for a second, that was produced by Francis Ford Coppola. I love Francis Ford Coppola, by the way. But you're the biggest fucking guy in Hollywood, and this dude's a pedophile, and all these people are getting jobs. Like Powder, Jeff Goldblum was in it. Jeff Goldblum didn't look at that director even once and go, like, hey, man, you're a pedophile. I'm not working on this fucking movie. Like, what? Did he not know? Is it compartmentalized? I don't know, but let's wind the clock back even more. Francis Ford Coppola is friends with, like, Jack Nicholson. His heyday was back in the 70s. Jack Nicholson was the house that owned the mansion or the house or whatever that Roman Polanski raped a 13-year-old girl in. I'm going to let that sit for a second. Jack Nicholson, in Jack Nicholson's house, a 13-year-old girl was raped anally by the guy who directed Rosemary's Baby, which is a great movie, by the way. Doesn't that smell a little funny to you? Does Jack Nicholson get asked about that ever? I'm talking in the past 40 years. Do other Hollywood people go, Jesus, I couldn't imagine, like, if one of my friends raped a kid in my house and I wasn't, like, flipping out about it on a daily basis in the news, that I couldn't walk into a room and leave it without people at least going, that's the fucking guy. But in Hollywood, that doesn't seem to matter. In Hollywood, it is pretty much an open secret that shit like this happens all the time. If you don't believe me, ask Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, who said that they were raped repeatedly growing up as child stars. I think Drew Barrymore said that she was having sex at a really young age, too. All these, like, child actors and child stars. By the way, down to the girl who was in Poltergeist. She died. What did she die of? I forget the exact medical term, but it was basically intestinal damage, like intestinal blockage. She was also on a show called Rocky Road. The people who made Rocky Road, the other kids who were on that show eventually came out and got I believe there were arrests made. I would have to look into this a little bit more to get all the details. But look up the show Rocky Road. Because there was definitely pedophile shit happening. There were accusations being hurled. Oh, and by the way, the girl from Poltergeist worked on Rocky Road, and there were rumors and innuendo that she was being raped on that set. And then all of a sudden she died of intestinal damage or blockage or something like that. So did anyone ever look into that? Like, how does that happen to a little kid like that? Was it purely a medical thing? Maybe it was, but there's some other people that theorize there was something a little more fucked up. And the more you look into it, you're like, wait, like, hold on. Like, do all these... How would Steven Spielberg, who, like, worked with that little girl, not say anything about it later, if it were true? And if, let's say you knew, let's say a friend of yours went to another job and something horrible happened to him at that job, something unspeakable, like child sex, happened to them at that job, wouldn't you turn around at some point and go, you'll never believe what happened, particularly if you're a guy like Steven Spielberg and you're a billionaire with a giant microphone, a giant platform, and you could say whatever you want. You knew this little girl. You hung out with this fucking little girl. Same thing. He worked with Drew Barrymore, too. I don't know if she was raped, but I think she was into, like, drugs and partying in Hollywood at, like, the age of 10. Something stupid. And into, like, sex and things like that by, like, before she was a teenager. You never said anything about it. And you're a billionaire, and you're Steven Spielberg. Everybody knows who the fuck you are. What, are you afraid it'll ruin your career? Who is going to ruin your career over speaking out of that? Are people just... What? You already have $1 billion. You could do whatever you want. Imagine if you had $1 billion, which is another thing that makes me think. If I had $1 billion, let's say $5 billion, let's say I had fucking George Soros money. No matter how rich I got, you know, I could imagine myself buying a bunch of cars. Ooh, excuse me. Hold on, let me adjust that. I could imagine myself buying a bunch of cars. I could imagine myself buying motorcycles, awesome house, big piece of property, maybe even have like a farm going on that property, nice rustic land, this and that. I'll have a yacht. What else would I do? I don't know. I'd see the best shows in the world. I'd eat the best food. I'd get on a boat. I'd fucking just see the world and see what's going on. These are all like fantasies people have about if I had money, what you would actually do with the money. You know, oh, what about women? Well, now that I have money, yeah, man, I might get women. I might get the most high-end prostitutes you've ever fucking heard of in your life. I might do that. I just might. I'm not a drug guy or a drinking guy, but there's people that definitely would be like, I would have mountains of Tony Montana cocaine laying around my fucking house. Cool, that's your thing. It's not my thing, but that might be your thing. If you had $1 billion, you'd be Cocaine Joe. Okay, good. But at no point of having whatever I wanted, if somebody said, you have so much money, sir, you could even have a 10-year-old boy, would I go, what a good idea. Oh, my God, yes, what a delicacy. A 10-year-old boy. No, if you were like, you have $1 billion? Hey, guess what? I could get you young boys. I'd be like, I'm going to shoot you. Get the fuck out of here. There's no part of the fantasy that involves young boys or young girls, for that matter, yet it seems to keep happening. Kevin Spacey was screwing around with underage kids and shit like that. We all knew he was gay, too. Once again, big open secret. We all knew Kevin Spacey was gay. But it comes out where it's like, oh, yeah, he was fucking around with underage kids. No one knew this? Where was he meeting them? Who brings him the kids? Oh, there's that guy. What the fuck's his name? The English dude. Oh, I want to say it's Jerry something. Oh, my God. He looked really weird, really bizarre, and was always into, like, children's charities. Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols, John Lydon, actually talked about him and got sued. It starts with an S. His last name starts with an S. Holy shit. He got... Johnny Rotten, I think there was, like, a lawsuit or a defamation thing that came up because Johnny Rotten was like, we all know this guy's a pedophile. Everyone knows he's fucking around with little boys. And people were like, you piece of shit, don't say that. He's the nicest guy. He runs all these charities. How dare you? Oh, you're just a punk rocker, a scumbag, heroin addict, piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Well, years later, God damn, I wish I could remember his name right now. Years later, I think he died. And it came out that he was like basically not just fucking around with young boys. He was a pimp. This is a person who's like eating with politicians in England. This is a person who had this whole thing going on, right? With politicians who knew him, who hung out with him. And it was this big open secret that he could get you young girls and young boys from his, you know, they usually get, like, unfortunately, really fucked up kids from fucked up homes anyway who've been abused, and then they go, oh, look, I'm helping these abused kids, and then they're like, hey, these kids are fucking used to it. We could fuck with their heads and no one will even believe them, because they could just say, hey, they've been fucked up their whole life. And he started pimping them out to celebrities. Who are the celebrities? Where's the list? I want to fucking see the list. Don't you want to see the list? Do me a favor. Can we not move on till we see the list of people that we're giving money to their product, whether it be their art or anything else? Can I not do another thing until I know who bought a young boy or a young girl from the scumbag who ran a kid's show in England? Can I know that? Is that something you want to know? I kind of want to know. I kind of want to make sure next time I fucking see a whatever Channing Tatum movie, he wasn't on the fucking list. And by the way, I'm not accusing Channing Tatum. As far as I know, he's A-okay in my book, but he's Hollywood, so you never know. What about Anthony Weiner? And by the way, this is just off the top of my fucking head. This isn't like I made a list of all these people, but what about Anthony Weiner? Well, yeah, he sent dick pics. Yeah, he's in jail for being a fucking pedo, though. He was sending pictures to, like, what, 15, 14-year-old girls. One of the pictures that he sent, he was holding his baby while he's in his underwear with a fucking heart on, and he sent that to a girl. You know what? I never even knew that was an option. Like, when I heard about that, and when I saw that crazy picture, I went, he's holding a child with an erection. I didn't know that's not like something that has ever even entered a normal person's head with healthy sexual habits. Semi-healthy in my case. It's not something that you even think of as an option. The reason is, it's not. It's not an option. You're not allowed to take hard-on pictures next to a fucking little kid. But this guy comfortably did it and sent it to people like, hey, check me out. His fucking wife is the chief aide for Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, is married to a guy who was accused of fucking raping a bunch of people. Bill Clinton, which no one ever talks about. People talk about it, but they're written off as he must be conspiracy guy or crazy guy or insane guy. This all kind of sounds like crazy talk, but this is all shit that you could Google and look up yourself. You know, I'm not by any means an expert on it, but I'm always curious when I find out these things happen, because there was a book that was written in 1991 that exposed the whole thing with the government and schools and academia and Hollywood and the church, and we all know about the Catholic Church. I don't even need to get into the shit with the Catholic Church. It's common knowledge that Catholic Church is fucking around boys. Fucked up. Now, in this book in 1991, they named a bunch of names. And one of the names that they named and said, this guy, everyone knows he's a pedo, he's pimping out kids too, and he's involved in all these children's charities. And they said, who? And in the book in 1991, it said Jerry Sandusky. Jerry Sandusky was the assistant coach for Penn State, who was caught having sex with boys in 2012? How many years does shit like that take to catch up with you? Because like I said, if you own a coffee shop, if you own a bar, and somebody comes in and somebody goes, yeah, you know, they're attracted to young kids, they're not getting the fucking busboy job. So it's this willful ignorance that we all know this. Because if you're listening to this, now you know this. Now you could ignore it, and you could write this off as the craziest thing you ever heard. You could think, or you could look at this as just, I'm talking in hyperbole. Because with some people, I don't know that all of Hollywood's in it. I don't know who's in on it, or I don't know if it's a big coincidence. I don't even know if the demographic is any more or less than any other industry. I really don't. I don't know what you could do to prove that like there are more pedophiles in Hollywood than there are, like, you know, pedophile plumbers or something like that. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting thought to have. And it's a controversial idea that no one talks about. It's literally the most controversial thing you could think of. The most taboo thing you could think of. And no one would ever fucking really mention it in polite company. No one, I don't think, talks about it at Hollywood parties. By the way, if you notice, I didn't even, and I purposely did this, I didn't go down the Alex Jones fucking rabbit hole of Bohemian Grove and fucking, you know, satanic orgies and this and that, which that's, the other part of it is like this almost theatrical thing that's been rumored that politicians go to these places and these things, because that's already been, it's already been said to death. I'm just saying, as a dude, the practical shit that I hear and the stuff that kind of pops up here and there in the news and how these people are related to other people. The guy who's in the Tim Burton movies, the guy who's in, oh my God, the guy who's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the principal, caught sending JPEGs to like Pee Wee Herman and shit like that. Doesn't that strike you as a little fucked up? Doesn't that strike you as a thing that, you know, like, wait, who's getting JPEGs? And by the way, okay, so Anthony Weiner's involved, and how come you find out at least once every 2 or 3 years, some, like, senator or some congressman will pop up and it'll be like, yeah, he was in a chat with a 14-year-old boy, and it's always some guy who is, like, the biggest pedophile advocate, or anti-pedophile advocate in the world. Fucking the governor of New York a few years ago was caught with prostitutes, and his big thing as governor was anti-prostitution legislation. Isn't that fucking wacky as shit? How many people smoke weed? I'll give you a great example. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the new representative from New York. You think that bitch doesn't smoke weed? She fucking smokes weed. I don't smoke weed, but I know the look of people who smoke weed, and that fucking bitch smokes weed. She's a cute girl from fucking New York. I'm a Bronx chick, but you're not really from the Bronx. You're from Westchester. You're hanging out in the suburbs. Nobody ever passed you a fucking joint. How, like, you're a politician. You smoke weed, right? But you're going to oversee and supervise other people who are getting arrested and going to jail and having their lives ruined for weed. And I know it's actually legal in like 19 states now. New York is not one of them. And, you know, I hope that any politician on any side of the aisle would advocate to get something as silly legalized. That isn't even a controversial thought anymore. But the controversy is it's still illegal in places, and these people openly, instead of just coming out and being like, I smoke weed, wouldn't that be a better place? Wouldn't that make a better planet if people just said, hey, listen, I smoke weed? If a gay guy would just be like, I'm gay. If Kevin Spacey was just like, yeah, I like guys. And just, it was an afterthought. It didn't become your whole personality. It didn't become your whole deal. Pedophilia, though, is still going to be taboo. And the problem is, if you know about it, someone at the party should point and go, that's fucking Harvey Weinstein. He's a fucking rapist. Get him the fuck out of here. But no, these actresses went up and advocated for him. Politicians took pictures with him. To me, that's a controversial idea. And like I said, it's a controversial idea to think that this is actually going on, and it is. It's definitely going on. And there's other, like I said, there's deeper shit you could get into. Look up the Franklin cover-up if you don't want to sleep for a few fucking days. You could look up a lot of shit that's definitely happened with elected officials who have used their office to rape children or facilitate raping children. Look up Barney Frank's fucking history. The reason why Barney Frank came out of the closet, who, you know, he's beloved. He's on fucking, keep in mind, a guy like Milo Yiannopoulos, he can't possibly be on Real Time with Bill Maher. Oh my God, he's a monster for saying that he voted Republican. God forbid. But Barney Frank, Democratic senator, he's on Real Time all the time. The reason he came out of the closet is because he owned a building that like a gay circuit party was happening in. And the rumor was there were some underage people at that party. So he came out because people were like, you're involved with like all these mishaps, these parties and stuff like that. And I believe on the Senate floor, there's actual footage of him saying something, if I'm not mistaken, along the lines of like, hey, if you want to keep going with this, there's people in this room. He did a Tony Soprano move 100% of like, hey, there might be people that later on might get caught up in this. If you send me to jail, I might start fucking talking. You never know. And Barney Frank ends up not in jail, serving multiple terms in the Senate, and then ending up on TV as like the beloved, wonderful fucking guy. I don't know. So what I'm saying is, think about the controversial things that you think of, and don't try to impress everybody that you know with mundane bullshit facts of just stuff we all fucking agree on. Because we could all agree that something as horrific as like pedophilia should be illegal. And we know that. I'm not thinking I'm impressing you with that. But going down the rabbit hole of who's actually doing it and what to actually do to stop it and make it a real thing, that is something worth thinking about.